and that screen is representative of the journey for us. So here's what it is today, and I've been metaphorizing it. So the picture is a metaphor for how we are feeling. It's still a tightrope walk, and this time I can see where I've come from and where I'm going. And I know I'm going to be getting there. So this is the 8th session, and it's taken that long for me to come to that place where I sense that, okay, I'm getting a hang of things. So here's the interesting piece. While, things appear clear, they don't always appear or show up the way they are. I can see what is, but I also see more because I'm making meaning from what I see and experience. So, sorry, am I going too fast? I mean, is this making sense? So we see something, and very often when we see something, before we even begin to describe it, we begin to make meaning of it.
Yes, so Vishwas, some time back you mentioned, like our past influences what we see now. Like we don't live in the present, but our past experiences shape up what we see and proceedings. Are you referring to that point?
Yeah, yes and no. Let me put it this way. If you look at that picture, I'm on that rope. I can see this end of it. You can see all that, right? And if I turn around, I can see that end of it. And I can see all that's around. But it's not just that I'm seeing. While I'm seeing that, I'm also making meaning of it. And yes, that meaning comes from what I have experienced before. Does that answer your question? Yeah? Okay. Great. So here's the metaphor. The rope is the journey. There's a beginning and an end to it. The anchors, and this is called an anchor. That means it's tied at this end and it's tied at that end. The anchors are where I start and where I end. The anchors hold me up and they enable me to do what I do. Okay? So far? Okay. So, now I'm beginning to make meaning, okay? Watch what happens. Now, the anchors, when an anchor is well placed, they're usually at an angle like this. They form a funnel. And the work that we do is essentially an act of putting stuff into the funnel. So everything that I know when I'm talking to you, when I'm preparing for it, when Jake is working on tools, very often the language I use and the language he uses to express it in his art form are different. But we're making meaning from what we are trying to cover in content on that particular day. So today's content is about another way of looking at what we do. And this funnel receives all the stuff that we know, our ideas, our opinions, our activities. So what I'm putting it into that funnel today is my history, my conditioning, my present state of being, the activities that I know, the experiences that I've had, everything, even my awareness of where I am and what I'm trying to do today is going into that funnel. Okay, so far? So when we go to design something for somebody else, this is what is happening. We are not always conscious about it. We just make a lot of assumptions. The only thing that stays alive with us is if we are trying to put in a new concept that we may have just studied yesterday or this morning, we're only conscious of that. But everything else is also falling into that funnel. You get that? Okay, great. So now that funnel collects a hell of a lot of stuff. Okay, now what is that? You're thinking of who is it for? What's the age group I'm dealing with? Who are these people? What are my reasons for doing that? And just picking up from Manjula's story on that particular day, you decided to ask them a different question and said, okay, let's just talk about other stuff. And your past didn't allow you to let go of that statement. And after that, we will do maths. Right? Imagine if you had stayed with that one question that, hey, let's just talk about stuff. Who are you? Tell me something about, let's find out about each other. Yeah? Something different might have happened. It eventually, they took it away from you, right? In that 1 hour. And that's the power of being able to allow choice as educators, and for the student to be able to recognize in that moment that, wow, I can exercise my choice. I'm going to tell my story. And then it went off to subjects all over the world. And sometimes we don't know why we do certain things, and then we do them and magic happens. So in my opinion, I don't know whether you saw it as a lost opportunity of an hour with your children. You forgot, you couldn't do 5.5 songs that you had planned for, but magic happened. In other scenarios, we're also looking at where would it be. In this scenario, it was probably an online class. What's the duration? All that stuff comes alive, and we are putting all that stuff. Now, do you have any idea how much content you've really covered over these past 7 sessions? I'm going to give you a shock in session 10. If you don't want to be shocked, do your homework. But there's a lot going in. Okay, that's just a sampling of it, and it's being added on to every session. Okay, so what happens to all that stuff that I'm, throwing into that funnel? I have to decide what the relevant pieces are, just as you have to. Okay, is it okay if I tell you the way I think, or do you want me to give it to you in your language?
What is the difference, Vishwas? I think in your language.
So if I was to tell you my language, I'm telling you how I think and how I prepare for my session when I'm conducting it.
Sure. That will be.
Is that okay?
Yeah. Like for me, it is fine. Others can.
Yeah, just a thumbs up. If anybody has a different opinion, speak up now. Or if you don't understand, okay, let's do one thing. If you don't understand something, then just say, okay, what does that mean for me as a parent or a teacher or whatever, okay? Because it's important for you to build this context. Okay, so now I do all that, and then I have to figure out, okay, what are the relevant pieces? What might be of use to them? So I put a filter in place, okay? Now, that filter, the moment I start filtering, I begin to feel a certain kind of pressure. And that pressure is, wow, now I have to put all that together and I have to finish it in that certain time and I have to build that understanding for them, and I have to do this and I have to do that, and I have to have my coffee at the same time. And it's easy to get confused because I've done so much over the years that when I come up with an idea of, okay, I'm going to select this, something else from my past jumps in and I say, wow, wouldn't it be great if I could also do this? And I begin to feel that pressure. And that pressure goes on till 5:45 or 5:50 till one of you begins to click on that and say, okay, admit. And at that point in time, I park everything. And this is something that I've cultivated over the years. And the way I use to describe it is, if you have planned enough, you have prepared enough, and you are ready for it, that little more, creating more pressure in that moment at 5:50 is not going to help. And the best thing to do at that point in time is to throw everything else away, include your entire plan out of the window, which is why we chose Chase office with a big window. Okay, so here's the statement. If you want to write it down, see if it works for you. It seems to have worked for other people. Plan to death and then throw it away. Okay? Because if you continue to stay with that pressure, you are not in this room. I won't be in this room. I'll be somewhere else. I'll be carrying my anxiety. I'll be carrying my various judgments of myself. So plan to death and then throw it away. Okay. And that question, that golden question, why am I doing what I'm doing, will come alive for you at that moment. You will have that 4S answer. Do you remember what those 4 S's are? Mic's on, let me hear it. You remember we did a chorus last time? Yes. Did we do it? Yeah. Let's try the chorus again. Okay. Hold on. This has to be done together. It has to sound like one clap. Okay, let's try the clap. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3, clap. 1, 2, 3. I can't hear you. Your mics are off. I need your mics on. Okay, are you ready? Kabir, mic on, please. Mridul. Everybody, you can put your cameras and mics on. That'll be brilliant. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Again. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Do you think we're getting better? I can't even hear your clap. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, we're getting better. We're getting better. So you want to do an activity? So this is, every time my hands cross, okay, I want you to clap. Okay? Are you ready? Every time my hands cross, I want you to clap. Okay, great. I hadn't planned this. I'm saying, what's a good way of getting you to understand that, you can filter, you can stress yourself out, and then when you get into the act, there's another filter. And that filter is how things are going to play out. Okay? And that's the real thing. So I didn't put this in my notes. I said, if it works, it works. Let's try the clap. Imagine if there were 100 people on this course and everybody was doing a clap. Wouldn't that be brilliant?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was just thinking that there's this time lag, right? The internet lag. And as a teacher, when I look at all of you clapping, what do you think I'm thinking? Do you think you've got it right?
Yes.
Huh?
You might be confused.
What does confused mean?
Like you might be thinking, why are they not clapping together, or are they not interested?
Right. You see, this time lag is the exact thing that happens in a classroom. So I am doing this, I'm hearing my clap, but you are seeing my clap maybe a second later. And the traditional approach is, oh, you got it wrong. But if I was to take a video of the screen, you're all right and I'm the wrong one. I mean, I just discovered this as we did that clap activity. I said, what's going on? And I said, wow, you're all right. I'm the one who's messed up. And I think very often as educators, we are the ones messed up. They've got it right. We've got to figure out what they've got right and follow their path. Remember, it's about them, it's not about us. Okay. And then all that that's one of the filters. How will it actually play out? I just discovered that as an educator, I'm the one messed up, not you. Okay. So all the stuff that you do then has a reality of its own, which may be very different from what we put into the funnel. So you put math into the funnel and you get a conversation that has nothing to do with math. But something about that conversation was enriching. It was useful to build that relationship between you and those kids. And I can assure you one thing, just keep having these conversations. At some point in time, they might turn around and say, "Ma'am, you know what, miss, you forgot, you're supposed to teach us math." Okay, that day will come, but you have to trust the process that you are using. Trust the process. Don't be in a rush. Okay? Great. Okay, so I just thought I would share some of that. What does this look like?
Lincoln.
Nikola Tesla.
Okay. Okay, great. So why are we putting this here? And those three things, energy, frequency, and vibration, seem to drive almost everything we know. Okay? So why am I using that? Today I'm going to introduce you to what we what we call the adventure wave. Now, the adventure wave is true even for a classroom. So don't look at it as adventure and outdoors, but adventure in the context of unknown, and we don't know what's going to happen, but we just follow the process. We just keep walking up that hill and we might reach the top. So that's the adventure wave. So energy, frequency, and vibration. So energy, frequency, and vibration. And the thing is this, it doesn't stay in one place, it moves. Yeah? So our relationship with our students, and this could be a classroom which is a 1 year, let's say a 1 year relationship, or it could be 2 hours or 4 hours or 2 days. Over time, there's a beginning and there's an end. Yeah? Some of the most common questions that I've been asked, and people keep asking me this question over the years, because I used to teach this 2-day thing called Raccoon Circles. And Raccoon Circles was a program which, can we do this a bit? Yes. Okay. Up or down? This feels better. The Raccoon Circles was a program which taught activities. It was 2 days, and I'd give them a book which had 100+ activities, and I would run some, and they would run some, and the guarantee was that by the end of 2 days, you knew at least 40 different activities that you could run. Okay? And this is a bunch of people whose job it is to run activities and know activities. Now, over a period of time, over the years that I've been in this business, I stopped counting the number of activities that I know, because they started going beyond 1,000. And I said, I can't even remember the number, so it doesn't matter. And why I say that is that all it needed was my intention to do something, to create energy, to find that right time, and then run it. Okay? So these are the things that were important. And I found that that had a wave. That it wasn't as if you could pick up any activity and do it anytime. There were activities that were relevant in the early phases of a relationship, and there are activities that are relevant for later in the relationship. I'll give you an example. I had some of my colleagues from the US come down, and very often their way of relating or connecting is to give you a hug, right? Or shake a hand. And culturally, not all of us are tuned to that. Okay? Now, how do I tell him that, early part of a relationship, maybe this is the best way to do it? And then you can try and do this, and then you can try and do that. And then you can try and, do a formal hug. And then when you know each other, then you can go for the full hug, or whatever that is. Even our relationship within the family, with our children, with people at home, in the classroom, goes through a wave. Okay? So these are the most often asked questions. Now, what shall I do in the beginning? What shall I do in the middle? How shall I finish? What are some good activities to do as energizers or icebreakers? You're familiar with these words, I'm guessing. Yeah? Okay. Oh, I love those nods.
Yes.
Right, I love the nods. So thanks, Stephen. So let's look at some of the stuff. Okay, so here's the thing. Now, what I'm really introducing you to is the jargon behind it, but I'm going to explain it as we go along. And all relationships have an introductory phase. Yeah. You remember we did the Drexler model. Do you remember what the first question is that people ask when they join a new place or meet a new person?
Please repeat, Vishwas, the question.
Do you remember we did that? We did the group development theory model, Drexler model. No?
Vishwas, is it why am I here?
Absolutely right. Thank you. Who was that?
Shweta.
Ah, Shweta, thank you for doing your homework. You've been doing your homework, man. Your journaling is brilliant. Thank you so much. I'm having a lot of fun.
Thank you.
So, why am I here? Now, when people come to so here's my dilemma again. What kind of context or setting do you want me to describe this? It's easiest done when you go outdoors. So on a 2-day camp or a 2-day holiday, are you okay if I describe that and then you can build your own context, or do you want me to use a classroom one?
No, you can use your own context, Vishwas. We will try to build out.
Okay.
I'll build my. I don't know about others.
Okay. So anybody would prefer a classroom context or any other preferences? Please tell me now. Because once my brain starts running in that direction, I start imagining it. Okay, great. So I'm not hearing any naysayers, so I'm just going to continue. So imagine you've got a bunch of kids who are going on a 2-day outdoor camp. They get into the bus. I'm going to need some interaction here. So if you don't have ambient noise, then keep your mics on, but I'm going to keep throwing questions at you because I'm tired of my own voice today. Okay? Imagine this, okay? They're getting into the bus. What do you think is going on in their heads? That's a question.
They're excited.
Okay.
Yeah. So they're
What will we do?
curious,
What
wondering
will we do?
where are they going.
Okay.
How long will it take?
Will it be fun?
Okay. So remember, this bus is full of only their known folks, right? Their classmates. What words would describe how they're feeling? Excited, yes.
Curious.
Curious.
Good. So here's the thing. Now, after 5 hours on the bus, they go through this mountainous road and they reach this open space. There are no other buildings around and they see a bunch of tents and the bus stops. What are they feeling now?
Finally, with
Surprised or shocked?
There and
Is this where we'll
again
be?
curious, like what is the setting?
A bit of anxiety, maybe.
A little anxiety?
Anxiety, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. Do you remember your first day at a new job in a new place?
Yeah.
Yes.
Describe that to me. What words describe that?
Anxiety again.
Excited, anxiety,
Discomfort.
curious,
Comfort, anxiety.
Worried.
Yeah. Sorry. Given?
Worried.
Worried, yeah.
A little uncertain.
Great. So now, here's the thing. This is how people are. And our job is to settle them in. Okay? And what that essentially means is this, to first take a slow pace. So I'm going to imagine what I have done and do, so I'm going to describe it as I go along. I'm just going to hang around there and watch. Most educators get very excited and anxious about the children running all over the place, getting out of the bus and running all over the place. Okay? Just remember, this is a displaced group. You've picked them up, thrown them into a bus, and now you're dropping them off at this godforsaken, there are no buildings. Can you believe it? You see open skies and trees and mud and rock and birds and I don't know, all that. So many unknowns.
Uh,
And
but Vishwas, these are young kids, and if they run around, is there not a fear in you that they may fall down, hurt themselves?
this is a parental adult anxiety. Are you married, Jeevan? No. See, you don't know. Take a bunch of kids and leave them in the outdoors, and I'll assure you something. They will not fall. They will fall on the street in the city. More mishaps happen in urban environments than in wilderness. You know why? Because the mind becomes alert. It knows it's new. Okay? So I'm not anxious. I know this phenomenon. Their energy is going to be all over the place. So I'm going to take it a little easy. So this is what I do. I stand and I get my instructors to just hang around. And we are not holding a rope and defining a boundary, but our physical presence becomes a kind of a boundary. And if they cross that, we say, hey guys, just hold on. Hang in there. But give them enough room to move around because they've been sitting in a bus for 5 hours. Okay? That mingling, that movement is really critical. Then it's critical that we walk them through an introduction. So if it's a campsite, even before their bags come out, I will leave that to somebody else and I will take that bunch, I'll take them to another space and I'll say, okay, we're just going to walk around and discover our boundaries. And I'll take them a walk and say, here's where you're going to stay, here's where you're going to eat, that's where the toilet is, that's the physical boundary, don't go beyond the street. These are the boundaries that I want you to stay in. The boundaries are being introduced. Okay? Really important. Then I will bring them back together, give them something to drink or to eat, feed them, introduce them to the people. Introduce them to non-negotiables. Non-negotiable. You cannot leave the boundaries. If you want to leave the boundaries, let me know and I'll take you for a walk. But you cannot go by yourself. If the toilets are at a distance, take a buddy and go. Meal times happen, be there. So simple, short, not more than 5. Okay? Not less than 1, ideally 3. And what you really do, and you'll ask me, but they never remember it. Of course, they're not supposed to remember it. But that's what we are there for. But somewhere somebody would have heard it in bits and pieces and they will remember it and they will. So not everybody remembers everything all the time. I see 25 faces here. Not everybody is going to remember everything I say. Right? You will remember some of the things that were important to you and that's how learning happens. Okay, so set the ground rules. And it's a great time for us to get to know the group because you're watching them, their dynamics are happening. Introduction is a critical part. It's the slowing down of and kind of getting the energy flowing. Got it? Great. Introductions are over. Oops. Right. So the next piece is to get their energy up, and you know the tragic part of online stuff. We can't play the way we can play when we're together. So I don't know how to help you with this. Do you remember we did? Do you remember shaking a leg and stuff like that? Do you remember? Did we do anything like that? Yeah, the eight count. No,
No.
we didn't do it.
Yes, we did.
Yes,
We did.
yes, we did.
Okay, great. So that would be a typical one where essentially. So follow me. Are you ready? So 1,
Yes.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Turn your head. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, now we do it faster. You ready? And while you're at it, even shake a leg, okay? So we're going to go hand, hand, leg, leg, waist. No, head. Waist you can't do, no? I can do. I'm in a rolling chair. Okay, you ready? Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Shake a leg. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Shake a leg. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now we do a countdown. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. You got it? So, classic energizer. You can also do songs. Do you want to do a song? You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so mic's on. Maybe you have to reduce the volume here. Mic's on and repeat after me. Monica, do you know Hindi?
Little bit.
So it's very simple Hindi. So it goes like this. Dilli se mora bhai layo re bajra.
What?
दिल्ली के मोरा भाई
Dilli se mora bhai
दिल्ली के मोरा भाई
This
दिल्ली
layo
से
re.
भाई.
लायो रे
दिल्ली से
अच्छा. दिल्ली से मेरा भाई लायो रे बाजरा.
लायो रे बाजरा
Delhi se Lemora by
Okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to type it out in the chat. Okay? Or maybe we'll do this later. We'll come back to it. We'll come back to it. But I want to try this thing today. See? Not part of the plan. That funnel, suddenly I say, wow, we can do a lot of this song and dance stuff, right? Let's try another. We will do one today. Okay. We'll do it later. All right. Or I'll do an English one. No. Okay. So energizers are song and dance, scream and shout. Here's the theory behind it. No discussion, no chat, no review. You just go from song to song, shake out, physical, vocal, scream and shout, move around, low contact. Okay? So you do this for about half an hour and you will have your group in a completely different place. So in 99, when I came back with this program called Play for Peace is essentially all this madness. Okay, and I would do it, and I would do it with corporate groups. And corporate groups, we think groups are serious and brainy and intelligent and boring. Sorry, Cynthia, don't take it personally. So they're not. You get a bunch of corporate geeks to dance for an hour, and you can have them eating out of your hand. And I've heard some of the most beautiful things at the end of that, just the first hour of a 2-day program, and they're like having so much fun already. Okay? Don't forget to energize. Okay. Now you want to take it to the next step. Okay? This is so what takes it to the next step? The next step is activities that involve a little touch. So you may have handshakes, you might have a little dance where you do shoulder to shoulder, hip to hip, bum to bum, knee to knee, toe to toe, something like that. So make it in pairs or in threes, partners, and you have some degree of contact. Okay, what does that do? It raises the risk level a bit. But if you are playing it and they watch you playing it, they will play as well. So whatever you do, don't get somebody else to run a play session for you. You can build a relationship, that whole community piece I was talking about. You can begin to build a community within minutes if you want to, just through play. There's a lot that's been written around play. Maybe I'll send some stuff to you. I'll put it in the folder. So trying harder is presented as a value. Okay? So have fun with that. So what they do is de-inhibitize. So you can stop me and ask a question if you want at any time, okay? So I'm just going to race through this otherwise. Okay.
Vishwas,
Yeah.
what do you mean by trying harder is presented as value? I
Yeah,
couldn't understand.
that's my
Yeah,
question too.
Okay, so when you energize, you're playing just by yourself, you're doing your dance. Okay? Now, if I said, okay, let's have a thumb fight. Okay? The first thing people do is think of it as an activity that generates conflict. Yes, no. Do you know what a thumb fight is? Okay, I'm going to demonstrate this. See, the joys of being in the same room. This is a thumb fight. Okay, now listen to how I'm framing it. Your objective, so if I put his thumb down, that's 1 point to me. If he puts my thumb down, it's 1 point to him. Okay, here's the objective, is to get as many points as you can. Are you ready? Let's do the traditional. Okay, so here we go. Oh, damn. Okay, again. I won. So what's the score? 1-1.
1-0, 1-0, yeah.
I won too. I won 1, he won 1. You see what happens?
1-1.
Now, and then people will do this, and a time will come when they lock. Yeah? And then you ask them, what's the score? 0. What was the objective? Anybody remember?
Fun.
To score as many points as possible.
As many points as possible. Ah, Okay, you ready? Go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Ah! And suddenly, through that process, what you've done is change the meaning of a thumb fight.
Hmm.
And so, trying harder is present. So now you've got this value involved, trying harder. The problem is that when you say try harder, it invariably means locking. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
I can see some of you are getting it. Cool. Okay. Anything else? Okay. So then we come to that. So now the energy is high. They've taken some risks. Some of them have backed off, and that's fine. Just remember, challenge by choice is alive. People have the freedom to step back and watch the fun. They do not have the freedom to hang out in groups and make fun of the rest of the group. Boundaries. Okay. This is the tricky part. We are here for a reason. What will help us learn what we are here to learn or to enjoy what we are here to do, and what will prevent us from learning or having fun? And there are several ways of doing the contract. I'm just going to give you, I don't know if I put, so Project Adventure came up with this thing called the full value contract. 5 fingers. You can do the 5-finger contract as well. And the 5 fingers essentially stand for safety, what will keep us safe. So what you can do is give them a piece of paper, they draw an outline of the hand, right? So get them into smaller groups and have this conversation as to, okay, if this finger means safety, what will keep us safe? And what will prevent us from staying safe? So what should we do and not do? Commitment. What shall we commit to do? What do we want to get out of this program? Respect. What does respect mean and how will it show itself up? Team effort or working together. What does that mean? What does it look like? How will we know? It's okay. So the thumb is really important. It's okay to pass. Do you know what that means? That's challenge by choice in practice. If I ask you, okay, what do you think? And you don't have an answer, or you've been dreaming, or you've been somewhere else in your head, or you can very safely say pass, and I will not chase you and say, oh, I notice you're not in the class, you're somewhere else. You're thinking about other things. Get back into this room. So, okay to pass. There are many other ways. Another way that I've often used is draw an egg. Now, what's inside the egg?
The group
The who?
bond, the group bond, safety.
I'm talking about, you're already gone to the group. What's inside the egg?
Yolk.
Yo,
What does the yolk become?
Chick.
So inside the shell is life. So you say, what will give life to the group? Okay. What's outside the egg?
Environment.
Huh?
Environment.
Yeah, correct. And what protects the life inside?
Danger. Danger.
Yeah, so outside is danger. What protects the life?
Boundary.
Shell. What is the nature of the shell of an egg?
It's a boundary.
It breaks where?
It's brittle.
Brittle.
It's brittle.
Brittle. That means, you know, small things can destroy the life inside. So you create this awareness. So I'll give you an example of an activity that I have often done. You know, there's a whole bunch of activities where you use these soft toys and you throw them around. Okay? When they get really good at it and they're having a lot of fun, and you've introduced many soft toys into the game, and you said, let's do a group juggle. If you want to Google it, or you know what? You should go to the website, my website, go to videos. There's a whole bunch of videos, and I'll put more up there. But you can also Google an activity called group juggle. Now, they've got these soft toys going on. Now I say, how are you doing with the activity? And they say, great. Okay. Do you feel confident? Yeah. What do those toys represent? And they'll come up with something. What are you trying to give life to? And is it okay to drop it or not okay to drop it? And sometimes the group will get really good at it, and then I will introduce an egg into the game. And you should, yeah, I know, I saw your face, Shweta. And you should see what happens to people. There's this very natural response to, my God, we've got to nurture this now. And then instead of, if they were earlier throwing it at each other, now they will go and hand it over to each other. And just the egg changes their behavior. Okay, just a thought. So and then you can bring it back to the behavioral contract and say, do you remember what you said will give life? And if it was a rowdy group hitting each other with the soft toys, then you say, what do you think is going to happen? And you make that connection. Is this making sense? Okay. I don't like the word trust, but this is the jargon. I don't think trust can be built. That's my take on it. We can have a conversation about it. But in the time that we are normally given to do anything with any group, unless you have a classroom that is a year long, I believe that trust cannot be built. You can build acceptance. I will start with acceptance. Can we get people within the group to accept each other? And to accept means to discover each other. Can we get them to do that? And for me, that's the beginning. And I will do everything possible to get people to discover each other, who they are, how they talk, what they talk about, what's their past life, what are they bringing into the course, into that space that we are in, into the training or learning space. And how is that history or that conditioning going to affect each other? All that I will, and just getting to know about somebody changes the way we see them and the way we respond to them. So it's exactly like the egg. We throw words at each other unthinkingly till we introduce that egg. And then suddenly there's a need to preserve that life. And it's brilliant what happens. So let's just go past this word trust. Okay, and many of you have done trust building activities, and one of them is a trust fall. Okay, so why do we do this? Helps build acceptance of each other, and most team building workshops are designed around this. That they say we want them to trust each other. Cynthia, would you say that's true in your corporate world?
Yeah, they kind of ask us to do that.
Sorry?
No, I mean, yeah, usually when they do the trust building exercise, it's always the trust fall.
Yeah, and
How does that help us?
you know what? I gave up the trust fall about 15 years ago. it doesn't work. It scares the hell out of you,
Yeah.
and you can walk away saying, "Oh, thank God, people helped me." But I can assure you, there are moments where there are videos of that happening. You know that, no? Have you seen that? Oh, we should post that video. So here's the guy. He's standing like this, and there's a whole group behind, and the instructor says, "Are you ready?" And everybody is ready, and he falls forward. What happened? Anyway, so what we're really saying is let's discover about each other, and you can go through these 4 stages in about 3 hours. It takes you about 3 hours to really do that. If you're on an outdoor program where you have space and stuff like that, it takes much longer in a classroom scenario if you're stuck to 40-minute classes. But just remember, in both scenarios, this is immensely possible. You know the problem with families? We never do this. There's this assumption that just because we are part of and when I say family, I'm going to say blood family, okay? Because sometimes we find our family outside the home, right? So just thinking about that, we never seem to invest in building acceptance within the family. And this is true of a lot of families, okay? And I think we take too much for granted within a family. And the quicker we can destroy that idea within the family, the better it is. That's a hard road. So let's go. We might touch upon it. I have an idea of doing something in the next session. Let's see if we can. Okay. This is the first time we conduct a reflection. We've not talked about reflection before this. You do not, by and large, spend time reflecting on energizers or de-inhibitizers or anything. This is the first time you really do it. And the reason is you're playing with energy at that point in time. Now we can play with the brain. Yeah? Okay. Why is it that all wives seem to say this? What do you notice?
Each of husband on the mirror.
What do you notice?
There is no image of the husband in the mirror, I guess.
She is noticing herself only.
Oh, that's an interesting interpretation. Wow, look at it.
Yeah, I was going to say she only sees herself.
Yeah, well, another way of looking at it is he's not even there.
Yeah.
Right? She's asking him this
She's-
really brilliant question.
Yeah.
He's not even there. Maybe he's in the office. I don't know. Okay. So we've done this. So I'm not going to go into any details here. Remember this? Yeah? Okay. I'm glad you were present in the last session then. So from here on, then you just do the rest of the activities that you want to do, and there is a certain formula to this, okay? I'm going to present that formula. By and large, what you want to do is to do communication activities first, anything that gets them to blah, 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 blah. Gets them to talk to each other. How are we doing on time? Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. Okay? All the text you can read yourself, because anything that this group is going to do together is going to involve some degree of conversation. So let's build their ability to talk to each other first. Simple. Yeah? Okay. Then you can go to all this problem solving, decision making stuff. Nice coffee. So if you're doing things over a year, you want to come to this place after the year. Because it really takes, them to be come to that place. So why social responsibility? That our world is not just us and our immediate classroom and our immediate school. There's also something beyond the boundaries of the school. That we live in a society. And the question is, how can we contribute something to our immediate environment? Okay? And then we can dive into this. Because then they're ready to take some risks with themselves because they know that there's a network of the community that's holding them up. Okay, I'm going to leave the stuff there for you to read. You can look at it later. Whatever you do, closure is a critical piece of anything that we do, whether it's 2 hours or 2 days or a whole year. This is something we are not culturally good at because I don't know, is there an innate, if you ask people, they'll say no, but is there some belief that we will meet in the next life? I'm not sure. But even when relationships close, there is no kindness and compassion in it. It's always, we have to break it. That's the only way to make it. And I think this closure that, okay, you and me don't get along, and that's fine. Or, hey, you know what? We've had a great ride till now. But we have to go different ways. So we're going to do that closure piece on the 10th session. And you can be angry at me if you want, but I will be playful and joyful and, we know that it's come to an end. But that end is only for that 10-week period. And we can stay connected through the larger community and connected to the larger community through turbulence or, the other groups that we have. So that anytime you want to reach out to somebody about something experiential, there's a whole community out there. And somewhere in this closure piece is a handover. So my handover on that closure day will be my role as the educator is now over and you've now take charge of the things that you've learned. So I kind of hand over the baton to you and I say, take your life to wherever you want to take it. Okay? So just remember that the closure is the critical piece. Don't ever forget to do a closure. Even sometimes when you're doing a 2-hour program, it's like a 5-minute closure. Even if it's, for example, when I do short-term stuff, 2 hours, 4 hours, my closure might include a 1-minute silent, eyes closed meditation of running the past 2 hours or 4 hours like a movie. And then another minute of breathing. And it kind of then gently then say, okay, it's time to go home. And you can do this on a daily basis if you're a teacher in a school. Just remember that this is, the closure is an important piece. Here's the whole model. The book it's from is, I think I put it up somewhere, no? Yeah, I've given you a lot of text from that book in the folder. So the details are all there. Any comments or questions? Do you want to take a break? 5-minute bio break? Right?
Yes.
Go get you a cup of coffee, do whatever you have to. And then we're going to go into thinking design. Okay? Okay. Would you like some music for those of you who are going to hang around? Okay. Yeah, but खाली पड़ा है. ये बाहर एकदम खाली रहता है. Switch. Camera चालू करो. Welcome back post interval. Okay. Anything you want to ask or say before we jump to the next piece? Are you all well? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Good.
Hi, little Shweta.
Vishwas,
Yes.
maybe a bit maybe a question which you can choose not to answer, but have you ever felt very frustrated with any particular group in your experience? Like you have tried everything and nothing worked, and at a personal level you felt very frustrated.
Online or in person?
Not online. Online is very new, but I'm saying in person.
Never. So I think I learned the right tricks by mistake well. I like to play. When I got into this world, I like to play. I like to laugh around and jump around and, horse around. And when I did that, uh, only 10 years down the line, I realized, wow, that's the magic of it. I didn't know it. I was just doing it because I like to do it. But it worked for everybody else. So, okay, yes, once. I was doing a corporate program and it was 2 days and we were at a resort and this was for the senior leadership. And I walked into that conference room. It was a U-shaped tables, chairs, and there were, I think, 14 or 15 of them, and they all had their laptops open. And I could not get away from their laptops for the whole day. And I took them out and I did all that. And between, even in the walk from the conference room to the lawns, they went on to their phones. When we came back, they walked back with their phones. They came back, they opened their laptops. And at the end of the day, this is what I did. shameless, but it worked. I said, is there a reason you want me here? And they said, you're supposed to run a training program. I said, okay, so training can happen without you. Would you rather go away? Would you rather be on your laptops? Because I can talk to myself for hours. I think it took them a little while to get to that place where they were, where they said, what do you mean? I said, training is training, right? I'm delivering. It's like, imagine if all of you switched off your videos. And I can assure you one thing, I've got, some of my students are going through this. They have to run corporate training programs where executives are asked to attend. Mic is muted, camera is off, and she's talking to a black wall. And she asked me, she said, well, what would you do if you had to do this? I said, I would ask them this question. Do you want to be here? If you don't want to, just let me know. I don't have a problem you doing this. Just let me know, because then I will change what I'm doing. And this buy-in is a critical piece in that entire process, that I'm not, I'm not here to raise an invoice. I've got feelings. I've got a head that's thinking. I feel things. Would you prefer me to put my camera off? Let's try it. Okay? I'm going to put my camera off and let's see what happens. I'm just curious to know. And what I'd like you to do is to write down what feelings emerge for you. So the next concept, I'm going to begin, I'm going to roll on for a while till, and your mics are on, so you can tell me to shut up or whatever it is, or go away or whatever it is you want. Okay? Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Cool. So here's a way of thinking design.
Vishwas, it is a little bit confusing though to see Chetan's DP on your name, huh?
No, my camera's off, but my face is there.
Oh,
I was just kidding. I was kidding.
I know. That's even more fun now. Now you're even more displaced. You're seeing this guy's voice, but Chetan's face, what the hell is going on? So, 5 P's of design. So here's, now you've probably come across many ways of thinking design. And so you've got the Addy, and you've got Grabs, and you've got Apple, and this is the 5 Ds by Simon Priest. I have sent you a big document where some of this is referred to. So, so essentially it is, whenever we're working with a group or with a person, so Cynthia, this is true even for your team, okay? And these are different levels of figuring out, or finding out, or diagnosing the group that you're going to be working with, or the people. One is conversation. So in the corporate training field, for example, typical would be some HR person giving me a call and saying, we want to do this. And then I have that conversation over phone, and it may never go beyond that. A date might be fixed. I know nothing about the attendees. They say it's team building program. It's for middle-level managers, age group, 25 to 35, been in the organization for so many years, blah, blah, blah. Just a conversation, and then I land up and they land up and we begin. If they want something more, if the organization is more interested, then they might be willing to, then I might say, hey, look, you know what, you want this done. Why don't we just, why don't we do an instrument? And typical instruments are FireOB, MBTI, DISC, Learning Styles Inventory, just to get a sense of who these people are and what they're going to be bringing to that place. If they want,
by like, can you explain more on this instrument? I didn't understand.
So it's an investment.
Please put your video on, Vishwas.
Okay.
We need to see you.
Listen, have you got the point?
Yeah, please put it on.
Yes, yes, yes.
I don't. I feel like not to continue this. If you are going to continue.
Quick displacement lesson. Okay, so sometimes we say, look, you know what, the organization is going through change and we really want them in a place where they're able to manage the leadership, blah, blah, blah. So, sorry, Jeevan, your question was what?
Instrument.
Yeah.
What do you mean instrument?
Personality types. So what kind of people are coming here? Since you're familiar with the learning styles inventory, let me just use that and say, am I getting a whole bunch of accommodators who are going to need more action, more doing stuff, hands-on things? Or am I going to get assimilators who need text before they want to read up, they want some knowledge, they want access to information? Do I have a bunch of divergers? Can I do some creative stuff? You know, stuff like that. So it gives you an indication of the tools that you can use to engage them in a more meaningful way. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yes.
So then the next stage is.
Vishwas, would you recommend always the learning styles, or we can use other tools as well?
Oh, you can use any tool you want. That you see, the thing about tools is this: we all believe in different ones. You know what I mean, right? And for me, belief is a problem because I get stuck to it. I start believing that those people are that, and I want to believe that change is immensely possible. That if you're a certain type, you can become anything else. So earlier I mentioned that there was, I don't know if I mentioned it, that this word swabhav that is used. So Monica, for you, that is, the word is the innate nature of a person. That it's a fixed place. And I'm not a believer in swabhav. I believe swabhav can be changed. And therefore, some organizations use MBTI, Myers-Briggs Type Indicator. Some use DISC, and there are all kinds of different instruments. You decide which one works for you and which you can play with. Okay? Yeah. Great. So if they want, there was this organization going through immense change, and they said the leadership has to be ready for it. And they have to come to this place where they realize that change is inevitable and so on and so forth. So it was a merger, there were layoffs, there was all kinds of stuff going on. And it was going to happen over a 6-month period, and the leadership needed to be on the same page in that sense. So I went in and interviewed people and said, okay, how are you feeling about this? And I needed to get a sense of whether they were angry, whether they were resistant, whether they were willing to accept it, whether they were resisting it. I needed to find that out, so the interviews helped. And even bigger than that then would be me walking in and watching them at work. That has happened in my number of years only, I think, twice. That not many organizations are willing to go to that extent because they've got too much on their plate already. Okay, so the reason I've gone into depth here is depending on the kind of engagement they want from you, it's going to affect everything else from here on. Okay, so if you are in, and we'll go into details a little later but I'm just going to tell you what these 5Ds are. So fantasy frameworks is where it's by and large play. So for example, if they're doing an activity where they have to go from point A to point B using a bunch of bricks, then in your fantasy framework, you tell them that, okay, those things that you're going to walk on are turtles. And those turtles will hold your weight as long as you're in contact with them. The moment you lose contact, they sink. And if they sink, the ground that looks like ground to you right now is actually a pond infested with crocodiles and piranhas. So you created a fantasy. So if their foot touches the ground, then they lose it, which means they have to now use only one leg. So you can build on that fantasy. A reality framework is where the connections are made to real life scenarios of their lives. So the questions that would arise is, okay, what are you standing on? What keeps you afloat? And you might say family, fixed deposits, friends network, whatever it is. A contextual framework would be one that is in the context of the lives of the people, which means that the context could be classroom, school, organization, team, things like that. Okay?
How does that differ from reality? I mean, because within that context, it is that reality too, right? How does that differ?
No. For example, if I'm doing a reality framework and I'm making connections to what keeps you afloat, and you say, I have this really close friend whom I can go and talk to. But if I'm looking at an organization and the context is the organization, my question, while it might be the same, what keeps you afloat, the connections you're making in your brain are different. Aren't they?
They are. I'm just wondering, how does that work? I mean, that's from the participant, right? But
Yeah.
as a person who's designing it, I'm trying to understand, how does my question change when it's contextual versus reality?
Okay. So they have to go from point A to point B. They're going to use a bunch of bricks to go across. Point A is the beginning of the project. Now I'm bringing it to contextual, the organization, beginning of the project, end of the project, right? In between, they have to stay afloat. What's going to keep them moving? If you are a team and you're an individual in a team, what is it that will keep you afloat and moving?
Constant communication, for example.
There you go. Now your context is different.
Okay.
But if it was a reality framework, that's not what you would say.
Yeah.
Cool. You get it?
Yeah.
You know what? I understood it better while I explained it today. Thank you. An isomorphic is where the relationship between the tools that you use take on a shape that's even more real. You know what? The only way I can explain this is to tell you a story, but I'm not going to do it now. It's a wonderful story because it changed my life. You want a story?
Of course.
Okay. Damn it. You guys love stories. Okay, so what we'll do is this. I'm going to tell you the story. Do you want to finish the model and then I tell you the story? No. You want the story now? Okay. So here's the scenario. This is a story I heard, and this was about 20 years ago. and it changed the way I saw my work. And I was a fledgling in this industry at that point in time. This was a program that somebody conducted for a group of, so here's the organization, its headquarters, it's a corporate training program. The headquarters in the US, and they have European offices. They have 9 European offices. And the headquarters in the US called this trainer and they said, hey, you know what, we got to do something. These guys are not pulling their socks up. There's no ownership, there's no commitment, there's no accountability. They're just not responding. Their business has been stagnant for years. So this was a classic one where they went as far as observation, but did it like they had spies sent to these offices to watch them. And they collected a lot of information. This was, now the preparatory time was 6 months, okay? That was the time spent in diagnosis and design. Okay, so finally they got their design, and this is what emerges. Now here's the thing. While I tell you the story, I'm not going to explain a damn thing. Okay? And not even in the end. You figure it out. So the heads of these 9 offices, now this is pre-internet. They get an envelope. The envelope contains a ticket, an air ticket, and a letter from the boss. And it says, be on this flight. When you get off at Heathrow, London Airport, you must be wearing a Roman tunic. Do you know what that is? That skirt with a so bare-bodied skirt, sandals, Roman sandals. Now you got to imagine this. Now this is a bunch of 9 executives with their briefcases getting onto these flights. Now this is a letter from the boss. So, I mean, would you be there if you were you? I guess, yeah? Okay. So they get onto this flight with briefcases. Those are the briefcase days, right? Briefcases, suits. They get off the flight, they get into their Roman tunics, and they're told that go to this yellow arc that says meeting point. Now, imagine flights arriving almost around the same time, and these guys in Roman tunics with briefcases in their hands, they come to the meeting point. Obviously, somebody is watching them. When 9 of them arrive, the stewardess, and they look at each other and say, who are you? Why are you wearing a Roman tunic? They say, why are you wearing a, oh, I got a letter from my boss. Which organization are you? Oh, great. Oh, hi, I'm so, all that's going on. And can you imagine what's going on in their heads? Okay? Huge anxiety. They say, what the hell is going on? When 9 of them get together, there's somebody watching them. A stewardess comes to them and says, gentlemen, follow me. She leads them through a bunch of corridors to a back door that leads to the tarmac. There's a plane waiting for them. The doors open, they go in, the door closes, the stewardess is outside, cockpit door is open, engines rev up, the plane takes off. It's evening, around this time. Lights gone down. Anxious, angry, frustration, conversations, About half an hour later, the plane lands, the door opens, and as we normally would do, they all step out, door closes, plane takes off. They look around. In the distance, what was the air traffic controller and the light goes off. They're on the tarmac. There's nobody else there, just them. It's cold, it's windy, they're in their Roman tunics. At a distance, a light comes on. What would you do?
Go towards the light.
I'd go walking towards the light.
Yeah, go towards the light.
See, the elements of great design. Nobody told you to go towards the light, but you did. They go towards the light. The light is from a log cabin, beautiful log cabin. They enter the log cabin. It's nice and warm. It's protected. The walls are lined with food. There's a kitchen, bunk beds. How are you feeling?
Comfortable.
Relieved.
Relax.
Relieved also.
Okay.
I figured it out.
You're hungry?
Hungry.
Agree.
So what will you do?
Cook food.
Go and
First
take
eat.
some food.
Good.
For food or
Freshen yourself.
Food.
Look around.
Look around, pick up the food, go to the dining table, and on the dining table is a knife holding a paper there. And the paper has a message. And this is what it says. 7 days from now, 45 degrees. So 45 degrees is compass, right? Okay. Navigation. At 45 degrees is a tarmac. A plane will land at 5 p.m. Be on it. What are you thinking?
Boss is crazy.
Good. So, those of you who know, who've done some psychology, clinical psychology, or read some stuff, there's this thing called denial. First response is shock. Next is denial. Right? They're going through this cycle of shock and denial, and some get out of it earlier than others. Now, they wake up next morning and they open the door, they go out, and they notice that that's the only log cabin. They are on an island. Between there, they look at 45 degrees and they find there's a wide expanse of water, and somewhere on the horizon is a landmass.
Tim? Did the boss ask them to swim?
No, it's high tide and low tide. The land comes into the low tides.
Oh, low tide? You're going to walk across? You think?
They walked last night, no? They walked to that log cabin.
To the log cabin, yes. Now, the plane's going to land on an island at 45 degrees beyond and on the horizon.
So the plane is going to land in a separate island, basically. Or they either have to make a raft or swim.
Good. Go on. Everything you
I think
need.
I think they have to strategize among themselves how to get there.
To figure out.
Remember,
Swim across.
you are not there. You're sitting in a comfortable chair right now.
Firstly, I'm gonna just panic. I'm like, what?
Right.
Can't happen.
What the hell?
What then?
Denial, shock denial, shock denial, shock denial. You can imagine the cycle that these people go through. Now, here's my question to you. What do you think they have to do if they get over their anger and frustration, and if they can cross that denial and shock stage, what do you think they need to do?
Work together and find a solution to go to that.
Work together, strategize.
Good. What do you think all that needs?
Calm state of mind.
Huh?
Trusting,
State of mind.
trusting each other.
What else?
Communication.
What else?
Thinking of the task and nothing else.
Even before that.
We need to accept each other.
We need to first know each other.
Accept the situation.
They need to.
Situation.
They need to know each other first.
Okay, now you've accepted each other, blah, blah, blah. Go on. What does it need?
To believe that they can do it.
So they have
That
to
we are all
plan.
together in a community.
What does that need?
Trusting each other.
To make a design.
Okay. Okay.
Accept.
So here's the beauty of design. What the bosses wanted was initiative. And the entire scenario made initiative non-negotiable. All your trust and community, all the wonderful soft things we talked about, wonderful things. Yes, and the initiative needed to come from them. And there was, and I think you can figure out that they must have realized that if they were not on the plane, they were either left to die or they lost their jobs. Okay? That's beautiful design. This is isomorphic framework. That knife, the food, the log cabin, the warmth, the desolateness of that place, the airplane, the stewardess, every one of those things had a direct connection to their workplace. Okay? Right, have fun with it.
What did Roman tunics have to do with anything?
Oh, the whole displacement that if you're wearing the same clothes, you're not going to behave differently.
Okay.
Remember I said if you wear your...
What happened at the end of the story?
Doesn't matter, right? Okay. Great. So what does that mean for us? So what do those 5 Ds mean? It helps us differentiate and deliver differently depending on what our client groups need. Okay? Now, most client groups don't know what they want. I'll give you an example. An organization sent me a mail, 12 things. Did I tell you that? No. Team building, decision making, planning, strategizing, conflict management, 12. And I said, how much time are you going to give me? 4 hours. Can you please give me 8? Can you give me the day? But the issue wasn't that. You can ask all kinds of questions. So I had to bring that conversation to a place to ask them, what do you really need? Okay? It turned out that this was just some kid in the HR whose KRA was to make this program happen. She was given this and she gave it to me and to other people. She had no idea what was happening. And I said, "Yeah, okay, yeah, I can do it." And then I said, okay, but I need some clarity. Can you please can I please talk to somebody else as well? So she put me onto the team lead and that conversation went on. And the thing was this, what they really wanted was what they call a break. They'd been on a project for a year and they wanted a break, but they had to make it legit. So they put on the list everything that humanity really functions around. And I said, yeah, I can do it. Not a problem. You see, they didn't ask me the question, are they going to be different at the end of it? Can I deliver team building, blah, blah, blah? Yeah. I can get them to do one activity and include the potential for every one of those things to happen. Okay? So we've got to learn how to look at and listen to what they want. So here's what it turns out. What they wanted was a recreational program. I didn't need to do anything except have that conversation. So they were going to land in Goa and I was going to land in Goa. It's always exotic, right? And we were just going to have that jamboree for a day and they would leave and I would leave and that's it, bye-bye. They just wanted a whole bunch of fun and engagement. So what's my diagnosis? Conversation is enough. I don't even need to do an instrument. What is the size of the group? 120. Okay. What are we addressing through recreation? So those of you who have been in corporates will know this word. It's called a feel-good program. At the end of it, they must feel good about it. Easy.
Vishwas, I just have a doubt here. When you say the diagnosis was conversation, so was the conversation with the HR or, I mean, because sometimes that's also a bit misleading, right? Like in the sense that they have a very different story to say from what the participants might have to say.
It's HR. You got to remember that they've got budgets are dependent on, so if it's a recreation, they can't, when it's a picnic budget, if it's 1,000 rupees per person, a training budget is 5,000 rupees a person. That allows, so they're put into a training budget, so we can all fly to Goa. Now they have to have that long list. Make sense?
Yeah.
So all my introductions to the activities were playful. Crocodiles, you lose one arm, you lose one leg, you can't talk, you can't see, all that stuff. Fantasy frameworks, playfulness. Emphasis is on enjoying the experience, feeling good about it. You're not taking it anywhere, so your facilitation is, you're not even asking any questions. No, not needed. Now, over the years, I went through a phase of, what the hell? You see, I thought I was getting more intelligent and, what's the word? Mature, yuck, what a word. Sorry. What's the word? Wise. And that these programs are not good enough for me. I want to do something about change. You remember that conversation? I want to change the world, right? Yeah. So that was that phase of my life. And I can't change anybody. So there was this phase when I let go of a lot of these things and I said, no, not good enough for me. Give me something with meat, with clear objectives and intention. This is what that one program taught me. So I said, and it was a big budget. I was making a lot of money. So I said, damn, I'm not going to give up this program for my. So I tucked my tail in and I went and did it. More people at the end of that day turned around and said, wow, that was an eye opener. I learned so much today. I said, what? I run a recreational, feel good program and you come and tell me you learned something? What's with that? And in some ways that taught me a really valuable lesson. And this is what I had told my team on that day. I said, we are here with our intentionality. They are here for fun. So this is what we're going to do. We will focus on fantasy frameworks, but we will spend 5 or 10 minutes after each activity to run a quick review about how it went and what they learned that they can apply to the next activity. Make sense? Two birds with one stone. You feel good, I feel good. Not only do you feel good and enjoy it, me and my team learn how to do this review, this reflection piece. And the beauty is this, nobody is measuring you at that point in time because they didn't ask for reflection, so you can't make a mistake. Brilliant strategy. After that, it changed everything for me. I would take on recreation and I would do my thing and they would do their thing and everybody was happy. Okay. At the end, so 100% doing fun and play. When you finish the program, at the end of it, your detachment is evaluation. So, what did you like about the program? Just a couple of questions. You've got 120 people in that room and you've got like 10 minutes for closure. You can ask only probably one or 1.5 questions. So you ask them that closing question. Did you like it? What did you like about it? Anchoring. Give them a cap, give them a keychain, give them a, you know what I mean? So the thing anchors the experience. So next time when they wear that cap, they remember the experience. Okay? The diaries, the folders, leather, whatever. And reunion. Let's do this every 3 months. Okay, cool, no problem. They go their way, we go our way. Recreational program. Great. Here's my understanding of the industry as it stood till COVID came. About 80% of the industry is delivering this kind of work. And the reason is this, that the people who are supposed to do the reviews don't really know what that means. Because we don't have an industry here where you can learn how to review well. I mean, tragic that I'm the only one potentially teaching this. If you can find another program, I think I said that to you earlier, if you can find another program that teaches this, please let me know and then, I'd love to go and do it. If they're going to teach you facilitation and processing, now here's the difference. There is an organization that teaches you facilitation, but that is process facilitation. It's not experiential processing. They don't teach you how to process experiences. They teach you how to process process. So an organization wants to conduct a conference, they get a process facilitator to keep the group on track. Okay. Enough said. So most of the industry is delivering this, and please go out there and enrich it. Here's where what most people want: diagnosis, conversation, and instrument. Addresses thinking and feelings. So here's the question you want to ask is, what do I want them to think about at the end of it? And that could be in the context of all those topics that that I mentioned: teaming, decision making, conflict, all that stuff. What do you want them to think about? So you introduce content as well into this. You introduce concepts around those topics, and you get them to think about it and practice it while on the program as well. Design is reality frameworks because it goes back to an individual level, because all they want is people to think differently about strategic planning. You can't bring about change by doing a 4-day initiative or 1-day or 2-day thing. Delivery is conceptual. That means you're delivering concepts. There is reflection after each activity. And the method you use is funneling and filtering. We have not talked about filtering. We've talked about funneling. You can learn about filtering from the documents that I have given you. Filtering is taking the conversation to the objective. Okay? That's how it's different. Detachment, evaluation, anchoring, and okay, so how are you going to bring this into play when you go back to your organization or your school or whatever? Okay, what's your action plan? And action planning can be done in many different ways. Most of the action planning that I do on my programs are active. That means they have to demonstrate what exactly they're going to do. Sometimes I get them to write the action plan and put it into an envelope and seal it with their address, and I post it to them 1 week later as a reminder. I'm their conscience keeper for a week or a month, and then it's up to them. If they've forgotten about it, it'll serve as a reminder. If they haven't, great, they're already on the journey. Okay? So 75% activity, 25% conversation. That's the reflection piece. Any questions? Or we can go on. Here is where the heart of what we want to do is. Conversation, instrument, and interview. Theoretically, yes, but it's, it's hard for organizations to have the kind of budgets to do this. So you can have a developmental program, but not do all the others. The diagnosis piece, sometimes you just get information from the HR. In the context of a school, you may not do an instrument at all, but your diagnosis may actually begin when you walk into the classroom and meet your students for the first time. And that diagnosis continues for a period of time. Don't be too quick. Take a week, maybe even a month, to get a sense of who these kids are and who those individuals are in that space. What does it address? So the questions you want to ask yourself are, what do I want them to think about? What do I want them to know? And what do I want them to think about becoming? Okay? And of course, feelings is inevitable because the kind of activities and engagements that we have will, on a regular basis, get them to feel something. Okay. Oops. Design is contextual frames, general life analogies, delivery, integration, all this stuff, but your reviews will use direct front loading. That means you will discuss what there is to learn about what they want to learn before the experience. No secrets, no shock waves. Okay? Great. Action planning, evaluation. So a lot of the corporate training, the serious work that I wanted to do, which I've done very little of, because that people, organizations want about 80% is recreational, 15% is educational, that's thinking, and about 5% is developmental. Okay. And redirection is for dysfunctional teams. We don't really do much of that here. Nobody wants to accept that this is a dysfunctional team. But when dysfunction is found, and it's huge, a dysfunctional program addresses only those areas of dysfunction and those people that are bringing about dysfunction. So your group size is much smaller. And your engagement period is much longer. It might include pieces of coaching and so on and so forth through that. Okay. Finished. Over.
Vishwas, why does it say indirect in debrief? Because that would be direct, right?
Yeah, so direct, you see, here's the thing. Indirect front load, direct front loading would be where you present the potential of something and you say the next activity is about conversation, about how you talk to each other and how you share information. Direct front load. Indirect front loading would be, okay, here's the activity, this is what you're going to do, what do you think there is to learn from it? That makes sense?
Yep, it does.
Yes, Monica.
I would like to ask, so the adventure programs are going to go under education, wherever we work with students outside the school, for example, in a learning service programs, or is it going under development?
Yes.
Okay.
Ideally, yes. But most service learning programs are hogwash.
Yeah, I know. I can visual the picture, the ideal picture, how it should be. Yeah, thank you.
So the amount of time that you would spend with the group to think about what that experience is going to mean for them when they go out to build a toilet for somebody. First of all, you wouldn't go out there to build a toilet for anybody.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You would get them to engage with the community and get their buy-in and then involve and then do it together, be collaborative in that process. Then there is something to learn from it.
Yeah.
Any questions? Oh, Bharat, welcome. Nice to see your face. Did you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, just checking. Okay, so here's, yes. Are you ready? I'm trying to introduce to you ways in which I've done it before. I'm going to do it again. Look at your phones or look at the chat, and we're sending you a link. And I want you to take a little time and add a comment. Once you get it, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. But the intention is for you to look at the images and which image best describes your experience of not just this session, but of your experience of the course so far. Feel free to be descriptive. Just words is not going to say anything, so don't be lazy. Okay? Spend a few minutes on it. I hope you have a Padlet account. Even if you don't, you can still do it. Do you have any questions? Have you got it?
Have you posted the link? I didn't get any, Vishwas.
Check your chat.
Slack,
Chat in
right?
Slack?
No.
No, I think Zoom chat. This chat only.
Zoom chat.
Oh, Zoom chat.
Oh. But my Padlet is on my phone. Can you send it to Slack?
Others, yeah, sending to Slack as well.
Yeah, that's good for me
Yeah,
too.
okay. Thanks, Chetan.
Aman, are you there?
Yep.
Can you show your face?
Yep. There's a lot of disturbance in the room, which is why my video was off.
You having a party?
So where is?
Avni, why are you looking so sad? Feel free to use feeling words. Describe how you're feeling about it as well. Sometimes it's much safer to say what you're thinking than what you're feeling. Bharat, are you saying something? Your mic is off.
Yeah, what I was asking, there are two suns. What is the difference? Are these two repeated or some difference?
There are two.
There.
There are two what?
Two suns. Sun.
Are you seeing two suns?
दो सूरज हैं यहाँ पे.
अच्छा. Oh, okay. They look the same, then they are the same.
Okay.
Yeah, they're the same. I
don't know why the link is not working for me.
Who is this?
Gracie.
The link is not working?
Yeah, my Padlet, it's not coming on my Padlet.
Everybody is posting. See, are you working on your phone or on your computer?
I'm on my computer,
Okay.
but I can also see it on my phone.
And Gracie?
I'm trying, something is wrong with it. Maybe my internet problem.
Vishwas, can I do this later?
Also do it later.
Okay. It looks like there's a lot of thinking that I need to do, and I get the feeling that I belong in multiple places.
One thing. Throw in a couple if you can, and continue to do it. I mean, that's the joy of it, actually. So it will be open to access, and you can also do it later.
Yeah, I think that would work best for me.
Okay.
So. I also have a question, Vishwas, if I can take the liberty of asking now.
Yeah.
Okay. So you were talking about these executives earlier,
Yeah.
right? Who are married to their laptops and their phones and so on and so forth, which got you frustrated. And I have to thank Jeevan for asking that question. How does open to outcome and the challenge by choice play out in that scenario?
Sometimes situations like that are much easier. So I can tell you what I did. Does that help?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So I said, is there a reason I'm here?
Mm-hmm.
And they said, yeah, you're supposed to run a training program on, on change. Nice. Are you willing? They said, yes. I said, well, step number one is recognizing that change is necessary. And what I'm sensing is that you don't think change is necessary because you're bringing your old behaviors into this room. I said, are you willing to close your laptops and put your phones away? They said, yes. And this is what I did thereafter with all my programs where I got a sense that this might happen. I would carry a bag and ask them to put their phones into that bag, switched off, and deliver their laptops onto a table. And the funny thing is this, they all agreed. And they always agreed after that because I didn't set it up as a rule. All I said was, if you want me to be here and you want to be here, then let's just be here. And the thing is that, so in processing, this is called a double bind. Now think about this. What if they say, yes, we want you here? What would they have to do?
They'll have to listen.
What if they said no?
Yeah.
They would have to let me go. And it's a choice they make. So I bring them to that place, and so the double bind is something that's used by and large in therapeutic cases. Addictions, for example. Okay? And if you want to watch double bind being built beautifully, you should watch a movie called A Few Good Men. Okay, put that down on your list. It's a brilliant movie, and he uses double binds towards the end when he corners
Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, Jack Nicholson. So the actors are Jack Nicholson and Tom Cruise. And the way he corners him, and that's called a double bind. Does that answer your question, Arvind?
Sort of. I'm just trying to process this. It's quite possible for some people to process information differently, to participate differently. And when you were mentioning earlier about a colleague or a friend of yours who had a problem with one of the programs that she was conducting where people were not on their cams, they had turned off their mics and their videos. Well, it's quite possible some people are actually comfortable receiving information that way. So when the conductor of the program is uncomfortable with that, aren't they bringing their agenda into the mix? Okay, I don't feel good about this, hence others should be turning on their videos.
Okay, so here's the answer to that one. This is how when we talked about it, I said, hey, look, you know what? What's your concern? And she said that I don't even know if they're there. They could be, switched off the video, switched off the mic, and they could have disappeared. I said, what's your problem? She says, I'm supposed to do this training program. I said, yeah, so do it. And she said, yeah, but I've got to answer for being paid all that money. I said, okay, so what is it? You want them to be there? And she said, yes. I said, good. Here's the thing. State it up front. And then in the conversation, you see there are names there already, right? I can look at the screen and say, I know whom I'm talking to. Every once in a while I'll say, hey, Alvin, are you there? Can you answer the question, please? Simple. And if you're not there, you won't. If you're there, you will. And the choice is being made by you.
Right.
And then what she did was got the HR person to sit next to her on a particular session to explain to her what the problem was. But either way, the danger is, as educators, us taking the responsibility of somebody else's learning.
Yeah.
That's a no control area.
And there's also the time constraint because, like you said, they want all these changes to happen within an hour,
yeah,
or probably 4 hours.
Yeah.
And I'm also curious with regard to the executives that you mentioned earlier. In the different kinds of facilitation items that you mentioned a while ago, recreation, education, development, and redirection, what do you think would be the kind of program that they might need? Development?
Which group?
The executives.
The story? No.
Those executives who were not engaged and who were with their laptops. Yeah.
That story.
Right.
They asked for a developmental program.
Okay.
Change in behavior was necessary.
Right.
Not just change in thinking.
Okay.
Change in behavior.
Okay.
So, so here's the funny thing. They set it up they expressed it as a developmental program, from what I understood as a developmental program, but mindset they came with was was partially recreational, partially educational.
Okay.
So just thinking differently about change and playing with change, not with bringing in new behaviors. And the interesting piece is this: a year later, they had shut down.
Okay. Yeah. My question was around, if you were to run a program for them, what would it look like? But then your answer was good enough.
Oh, hey man, I've done some pretty crazy stuff.
Right.
I think when as educators we can understand that we cannot bring about change in anybody else. We can only nurture and do all the other things outside. I think what it brings about a boldness that's very interesting, because then you're not saying I won't do it. You're not saying I will do it. You're saying you recruited me to do a certain thing. Now, all I need to know is, how intentional are you? And here's the thing. The boss himself walked in and out of that room like he owned it.
Okay.
End of day one, I just walked up to him, and here's what gave me the courage. On that day, I was a mess. I walked up to him and I said, they are doing what you are doing. And if that's okay with you, I'm okay with it. I will go through the motions that I came to, go through. But if it's change you want, and you're already seeing denial. The fact that they're on their laptops and on their phones on a program you're spending so much money on, and this is what you're bringing, so I'm not sure what's your intention. And I'm cool. I don't have a problem.
Yeah.
See, most important for me was me being at peace. I mean, when I talk about it as the most shittiest program. But I remember what a mess I was.
Okay. Thanks.
So, those of you who want more time, I know many of you have written, it's going to be open and accessible, so feel free to take your time with it. I'm just requesting you not to forget in the happenings of life. You dive into something else. Anything you want to say or ask before we close? Are you hungry enough?
For more of this, yes.
Wrong answer. If you had said food, I would have said, okay, now I know what you're hungry about. Okay, good night. Okay, so because we are getting closer to, this is session 8. We've got 2 more sessions, and I need your permission. Okay? I had not considered introducing a piece on conflict earlier. Okay, it is those of you who've been through deep will know that it's probably the one thing that affects people hugely in a deep way at a personal level. If it interests you to do something like that, then I would like to introduce it in the next session. Just to build an understanding of what causes conflict and just kind of dissecting some of that. Yeah? So, everybody together, thumbs up, there or down, depending on what you want. Bharat?
Yeah, I didn't get your question.
Oh, would you like to go through a piece on conflict in the next session? Because as educators, we are in conflict.
Yeah. Yes.
So again, everybody, unless you want to question again, I just want to see thumbs wherever you are. Anisha, welcome back. Okay, got your thumbs up. Racy? Okay, cool. So then I will introduce, it will be fun, definitely an interesting perspective, and conflict, let me just define very briefly conflict. Conflict is not necessarily violence, okay? But I have this idea, I want to do this, but, and Alvin, your questions are on that. What do I do? And it's that internal conflict. I'm talking about internal conflict. I'm not saying, how to solve somebody else's problems or your problem with somebody else. I'm going to refer to it in the context of oneself. And so what can I do for myself? Because I think our health is really critical. If we are messed up and we walk into a classroom, they're going to smell it. So if we can find a more peaceful, gentle, kind place, I think it has the ability to affect everything we do. So that will be the context of that conflict piece. Okay? Cool. Thank you very much for putting up with me. Good night.